ahead, and a little bit about where we come from and where we're heading here. Not sure how many of you folks know Spring Ahead out there, but Spring Ahead has been in its current incarnation for almost 5 years now. We have been in the time and billing and expense space for that time, and have been focused and really focused on the accounting side of the house, really focused on the back-end integrations to the accounting systems and creating not only a seamless experience for the end user, but also a seamless experience for the accountant, which we think is unique in this industry. We understand the integrations extremely well. We have an extremely successful and a high level of DNA from the accounting side of the house in Spring Ahead, so really understand the accounting backside very well. And our integrations have allowed us to interact well with accounting systems and also work with payroll systems as well. Over the last 5 years, we've been gathering data on the expense market in particular, looking at the expense process as a whole and really trying to focus on how people want to work when they incur expenses. What we came up with is Tally, and Tally is our new expense product. So we had an existing expense product out that we've just replaced with Tally. And again, gathering that data over the last few years to really understand how people want to work, intelligent workflows, and also a real easy-to-use system. I think what most of you know in the field are expense reports that look similar to an Excel spreadsheet. It's rows and columns in tabular format that are placed up in the cloud. You tab between the information, and you have to do all this manual data entry. What we have come up with, we think, is totally unique and something totally different to the marketplace than that. We'll take a look at that in just a second, but I think most of you probably have heard of Mint.com. Mint did a great job of aggregating personal credit card data and applying analytics to that data to give you a fairly powerful, intuitive system that was really easy to use for the end user. At Spring Ahead, we've taken this a number of steps further. We've taken that credit card integration. We've taken the ability to have analytics. We've incorporated OCR capabilities so that you can actually scan your receipts directly in the system. We've also incorporated artificial intelligence. We will actually learn from your behaviors to figure out how best to categorize your expenses. And then we've also taken what we've learned on the integration side of the house to work with the accounting systems and payroll systems that are out there. This product is fully mobile forward. The whole basis of the product is really around the mobile interaction and how we get folks to use their mobile devices, their smart devices that everyone is going to, and really have them be able to take a picture of a receipt and be done. We're going to talk to you a little bit about the automation component today, as well as some of the integration stuff, but that is where we're going to start. I'm going to go ahead and move out of this. And let's move into Tally. And I've got a bunch of screens open here. And what you're looking at, folks, is I've got a Mac computer that I'm working on. And I'll start there, and then I'll move over to the PC side here in just a minute. We'll take a look at the integration side. So what you're seeing over on the left is Tally. Tally is a 100% software as a service system. We use something called Tally Connect to talk to the desktop, which allows us to speak with accounting systems, which are typically desktop. And then over on the right-hand side, you're seeing my iPad. I'm using something called Reflections. Reflections allows me to put my iPad directly up on the screen, and you'll see me click on buttons. You guys can actually see my hand here in the background. And we're going to look at how we get information into Tally. The idea here is if you think about going out and incurring an expense, and we went to 21st Amendment the other day for lunch, and I had an expense. I'm going to go ahead and take a picture of it with my mobile device. We support all iOS devices. We support all Android devices. And you're going to see that pop up in the screen right next to you here with processing. I'm going to take a couple more just so you guys can get an idea of how easy this is to use and what these look like. And we'll do that one. And I'm going to do one more as well. And you'll notice I'm also not refreshing the screen. So as I'm doing this, the system is actually processing these through for me automatically. So I'm out in the field with my mobile device, and let's say I have my Samsung Galaxy 3 with me. I take these pictures, and we'll see all those pop up into the system. So that's one way of getting information into Tally. We're going to look at 3 different personas today within Tally, one of them being the end user, the other being the approving manager, and then the other being the accounting side of the house. First, when we look at the first persona of the end user, it's how do they get that information into the system. Let's take a look at grabbing a couple more receipts here. Oops. And I'm going to go ahead and grab this Apple receipt. I can drag and drop that directly from my desktop, and that will pop up and be recognized. Let's grab business receipts journal. Okay, so we'll see those populate into the system as well. So a number of different ways, real easy to get this into the system. Obviously, drag and drop. Obviously, taking a picture with your mobile device. Third, you also will talk about email. When I get when I get a receipt to my inbox, so I was just at Convergence last week in New Orleans, and we stayed at the W Hotel. I got a receipt from the W Hotel in my email. All I did was forward it across, and that popped up directly within my system as well. So we email it to receipts@usetally.com. It recognized the email address that I was sending it from and immediately processed that through into the system. And then last but not least is also credit cards. How do we get credit cards into the system? You guys are noticing that some of these are being processed and popping up. It's already processed 21st Amendment. 21st Amendment is right next door to us, and it actually recognized, picked up the vendor, picked up the date for me, and automatically picked up the amount. Now, in this case, it also picked up that when I go to 21st Amendment, our machine learning component recognized that this is meals. I always categorize 21st Amendment as meals. So we've learned, the system has learned that that's what I do, and it automatically categorized it for me. On the other hand, the Old Shift Saloon, which is not someplace that I've been to in the past, it picked up the date, the amount, and the date, pardon me, the vendor, the date, and the amount, but didn't give me an expense category because I haven't done that yet. So I would just simply click in. I can use my type ahead here and find my entertainment expense. You can see that I can associate this with project or job. I can also associate the department or class with that and put in a description as well as a billable flag, billable or non-billable as well. I can also itemize the expense from directly within here. So if I wanted to and I had an itemizable expense, I could go ahead and enter this one in as $20 even, and then I could categorize that particular component, and I'd add another item, and it would give me the leftover amount, and we'll do this one as entertainment. I could associate that also with a project or job, and we're going to go ahead and we could even make that one vertical and save it. Okay, so real easy to do. Itemization of the expenses, so on and so forth. So let's talk a little bit else about what you're seeing here. The machine will learn for you. The machine will auto-categorize for you. It will pick up vendor, date, and amount. It will also point out duplicates for you. So in this case, it's identified that I have an Apple store, which I categorize at some point in time as meals along the way, but it also will recognize that, and I pull this receipt over all the time, so I've got a number of these in here. But in this case, it's telling me that I have an unsubmitted receipt that I brought in that I last time categorized as meals, and it will continue to learn from you. So if I change my categorization, it will recognize that. In this case, I've already exported one that's already been exported to the accounting system as a fixed asset. So I think, okay, shoot, I accidentally brought over the same one. Turns out that these are identical receipts. I'm going to go ahead and delete that duplicate. I can look at this one. Same thing will happen here. It will also make suggestions to merge the items. So in this case, if I brought over my credit card, and we talked a little bit about this, but let's say I took a picture of a credit card receipt, and I've got my credit cards set up in the background. I'll show you what that looks like in just a second. So I have and you can recognize that here is a credit card for Anchor and Hope. Here's a credit card charge for Safeway. And you can tell by the credit card insignia that's right there, and it tells you which credit card you brought over. But I will actually, Tally is smart enough to recognize, because we know the vendor, the date, and the amount, if I take a picture of a receipt and it comes in, and then I have my credit card on auto import to bring over my credit card line items for a non-reimbursable credit card, it will automatically match those two up and sync them together. If it's not certain, it will suggest to you that you merge the two items as well, and it will pop the two up in that light box window and allow you to merge them as well. You can also drag and drop images. I won't drag and drop this one because they're different receipts, but you can simply drag and drop within the system as well. So if you have a receipt that needs to go to a credit card line item and you want to do that, you can do that as well. One other real nice feature here before I go over to the credit card side of the house is our mileage tile. Let's go to San Francisco. I'm going to make this a round trip. Let's go down to Menlo Park where I live. And let's go ahead and pick Menlo. It tells me that's 60 miles. I'm going to go ahead and create that. It will create a tile for me, automatically do a calculation based on what I have as the defaulted IRS amount for mileage reimbursement, which I believe is 50.25 cents, something to that effect. But it will automatically do that calculation. That is all editable in the background based on your company parameters. So a number of different things going on here. Let's go ahead and take a look at that credit card page, the last way to get information into the system. As I mentioned, you can do a non-reimbursable company credit card, which is my American Express card. And then I also have my pretend personal credit card here, which I don't have marked as non-reimbursable. This is a reimbursable card. I can simply click on the credit card, and I can just click on the line items that I want to bring over. You can see the ones that are grayed out, that are marked green, that I've already brought over beforehand. I'm going to go ahead and import all these transactions. And then if I had my American Express card, which I would typically set up as so this is my non-reimbursable corporate card, I would set up as non-reimbursable and on auto import. I could also select the statement start date of the month. What that allows me to do is by the time that my statement is built, and we'll build that statement for you automatically within expense reports. Let's go ahead and click over here, but you'll see a corporate American Express card. And if I had it on auto import, it will automatically populate the date for me. It'll automatically bring over every line item for that month in that particular statement period, so that when this credit card expense is submitted, or this credit card report is submitted, the accounting department can look at the statement of the credit card and the statement of and the expense report, and it should match up to a T based on dates, statement dates for that particular credit card. So really reducing the impact to the accounting department by having this done. And the end user automatically has this this particular expense report for their corporate credit card created for them. If they've got non-reimbursable checked and they have auto import checked, it will create that for them automatically. On the April report, you can see one that's in red. Oh, what happened here? It looks like I submitted this one, but I didn't have a receipt for Staples, and they asked me to please add receipt. So immediately I could click in. I could see this is something that's submitted before. I could go ahead and drag and drop a receipt back over into Staples to get that taken care of. But then I also see that I've got a bucket of expenses here, and it will tell me the ones that are standing out. This one's saying, hey, Anchor and Hope, you have to put an expense category on. We're going to require that, obviously. So let's go ahead and put in meals here, get that taken care of. So that one, and Delancey was entertainment. I want to watch. My fingers are moving faster than my computer. And we'll save that there. Fantastic. So, oh, and I need to use one more. So, again, the system is highly intelligent. It really recognizes the missing components. Super easy to use from a drag and drop perspective. Highly intelligent workflows, really working the way that you want to work. So now if I go ahead and I want to create, I could just click on this entire expense report, click on edit here, and I could add a department and class or project and job. Those are brought over from the accounting system. It's up to you whether you want to have these as mandatory, optional, or have them obfuscated so you can't see them at all. Totally up to you as an organization. But let's go ahead and we'll create a new expense report. And I'm going to name this one Damon April. Okay. I click on report, and I can see that I've got Damon April with $0 involved there. But I can see this new expense bucket. I want to take this one, I want to take this one, and this one, and this one. And I'd like to, not that one, I don't want that one. Let's drag these all over to the expense report and drop them. I've created expense report. It will automatically pick up the date of the first vendor, of the date of the first receipt and the date of the last receipt. You'll see those populated right here. Right up top here, 313 and 327. In this case, I'm acting as the approver as well, but I've created this expense report in literally no time at all because it's already brought this over. I've taken pictures when I'm out in the field. My credit card line items were brought over for me automatically if I choose to do so. I could, at this point, go ahead and print out a report that would give me all my expenses here listed. It would give me all my expenses by category down below here, my expense category, and it would automatically have all my receipts attached as well. I could print that out right now and have this in. So as an end user, super easy to use, highly intelligent, very simple. Let's go ahead and submit this one through though at this point. And I should probably pause here. Do we have any questions at this point, Adrian, that we need to stop for? How are we doing? I think we're good. Okay, I'm gonna continue to move forward here.
Yep. Sorry. No, Damon. No questions. Just a little comments about the background noise. But I understand you're in a working environment there, and I think you might have some support calls going on in the background. So other than that, you're good.
We do, and I apologize. We are a very open work environment here, and so I do apologize for any background noise you're receiving. Can you guys hear me okay? Am I talking over it well enough?
Yes, you sound good. I think people were just wanting to make sure that other lines were muted, and they're all muted, so we're good.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Okay, well, let's go ahead and jump into, let's go ahead and submit this report. I can see that I've got 2 non-reimbursable credit cards on there. I've got 2 receipts, and then also a mileage tile. I'm going to go ahead and submit this report as the end user. You can see it's successfully submitted. In this case, I talked about the 3 personas that I'm using today, being the end user, being the approver, and being the accounting side of the house, but I am one and the same today. So I see this come through as an approval. We have multiple levels of approval routing within the system. So in other words, you can have up to 5 people that you could have, pardon me, 6 layers that you could have. It could be a Steve and Susie. It could be a Steve or Susie, and then any combination thereof, including policy routing based on expense type, based on amount, and so forth. Let's go ahead and I'm going to approve this and move it through the system again. And then I, at this point, am going to actually switch over to my VMware side of the house, and just so that you can see what this looks like. In this case today, folks, I've gone ahead and created the demonstration for QuickBooks, and we'll be showing you what our integration looks like with the QuickBooks side of the house. Adrian, can you see my VMware desktop well enough at this point? So you should be seeing the QuickBooks pop up.
Yes, we are seeing pop-ups. If you can, maybe expand it a little bit more. It looks like you might have it minimized to half your screen.
Let's go ahead and see what I can do right here. Oh. Is that better?
Yes. Is there any way you can make that screen larger, or is that part of the software?
The QuickBooks portion of it.
Okay. Got it.
That here, is that better?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So I'm now, what I've done now is I switched over to the PC side of the house, which also I'm running VMware on a Mac, in order to utilize QuickBooks. But I would just log in and use Tally here and log back into my account on this side. And I can look at my export page, and I should see that.
And Damon, just to clarify,
yes, please.
Damon, can we just clarify that this integration would work with other ERP systems similar to this?
Thank you for the clarifications. Absolutely. So right now we have a direct integration built with QuickBooks. We also have direct integration built with GP Dynamics. We also currently have the ability, we're building out an integration with Bill.com, which will allow us to access a number of different accounting systems as well as create an export from our system that theoretically could be imported. We are working on a number of different integrations from the accounting side of the house, but currently GP and QuickBooks are available, and then Bill.com will open up chart of accounts to all of the other integration, or pardon me, other accounting systems, I believe, that are on the line. So, and then looking at doing some direct integrations as well. Thank you for that. So, so this is the expense report that I have gone through purchases, created an expense report for, went ahead and approved it, and am now at the export page. So only the administrator accounting system folks would be able to have access to this. Throughout the system, as we're going through, you have the ability to click on receipts, any of the warnings that come up, so if there's a possible duplicate or if there's an infraction based on policies, all of those would be seen not only at the individual user, but also at the manager level, as well as the accounting level, so the accounting department can dive into something like this. In this case, it looks like we're all set to go here. What we're going to look at today within QuickBooks is the ability for us to create either a check or a bill for reimbursables, and then also push, in this case, a non-reimbursable credit card charge directly to that credit card account within QuickBooks. So in this case, I'll go ahead and just click on export, and I'll be done. We do, as I mentioned before, we have Tally, which is here in the background. It's just running. But if we go ahead and click over to QuickBooks, I don't have to click on anything. I don't have to do anything. Let's go ahead and go home here for just a second. Bear with me. So I should be able to, let's click forward here. There's our Safeway charge for $82.81. And here is our Anchor and Hope charge for $140.36. For those of you that are familiar with Smart Vault, which is an integration on the QuickBooks side of the house, Smart Vault will store, we have an integration with them that allows us to store receipts. I didn't have a receipt associated with this particular credit card charge, but it would actually bring the receipt into the credit card line item directly from within QuickBooks. For those of you who are aware of going through, or conscious of what going through an audit looks like, this would make the accounting world so much easier to address any type of audit that would take place if you had that receipt stored directly at the line item. We can do that. And again, I probably should have showed you that here, but easily populate that within the system and have that that receipt stored directly here. We'll also take a look at bills. So we created the corporate credit card charges mapped across, and then I should have a couple of bills in here. Give me 1 second.
And Damon, we do have a question when you're ready.
Yes, please.
We have a question asking what is the ballpark price for each user?
Mm-hmm. Fantastic question. We are $7 per user per month. So, and that is pretty standard across the board. We do have some features and functionality that coming down the pike that may increase that a little bit, but right now $7 per user, and depending on the ERP, a setup cost somewhere between $300 and maybe $1,000. It really depend on the particular implementation that we're looking at, but very, very reasonable. You bet. So you can see that we created a check. We also had Damon April. It actually noted the expense report, tied it back so within the two systems I can keep the two in lockstep. If I need to go back and look at what was this check for, I can tie it directly back. You can see my two expense types listed within here as well. So everything brought over directly to the accounting system with notes also. So pretty straightforward, really simple, really easy to use. What other questions do we have out there at this point?
I don't see any other questions. What would be the time, Damon, to implement this solution, let's say with Sage 100 ERP, if we had a new ERP system that we didn't have a direct connector for?
Mm-hmm.
What would be the time to implement this solution with that type of a system?
Sure. In order to bring over employees, expense types, projects or jobs, so on and so forth, or customers, we would just do an import of that information. Right now, with our existing integrations, it takes us usually a 1-hour call to really complete just about any implementation. GP might take longer depending on how that is working, but we're really looking at getting that, once you get that file set up and do that import, pretty straightforward. So it's just a matter of time of creating that file in the format that we need it to be created, and we can go ahead and import that directly into our system. Probably looking at maybe a couple 1-hour calls to get that done, but really nothing too convoluted at all. Once we get those in the system, get expense categories set up and mapped appropriately, and named appropriately, it's a real easy, straightforward process.
I do have a poll. If I can ask the audience, are you ready to wrap this portion up, Damon?
I am. Okay. Unless there are any questions, I'm just trying to think if there was anything that I've missed along the way. We talked about creating expense reports. We talked about getting stuff into the expense report, processing through levels of approval. We do not charge for approving managers. Excuse me. We do not charge for administrators either. This is just for end users that are submitting expenses. So very straightforward pricing model. If there are any questions, Adrian, happy to address those, and happy to give out my email address as well for anybody that wants to send me a note.
We do have a question. You mentioned setup costs. Can you explain what is involved and the estimate?
Sure. It's really taking a look at, in particular on the GP side of the house, what their chart of accounts looks like. It's a massive undertaking, and there's thousands and thousands of expense items, so on and so forth. We will want to take a look at that and just make sure. We just want to gauge, but pretty straightforward. You can't ever expect really to have something that would be much over $1,000, and I would put it at the lower end of that. Typically, I'm going high on that one, but typically at the lower end, somewhere in the $200 to $300 range is what I think you would be willing to expect. But it's really based on how complicated, what the process looks like. Do we need to create any special processes in the background to make that happen?
So there's pretty significant opportunity for ROI with those costs, with the time that's saved with this solution, it looks like.
Absolutely, and I think that's a great point, Andrea. I look at doing, month before last, I did that $7,000 personal expense in-house. And something would have taken me on our old product to do all that data entry probably would have taken me 4 hours, 3 or 4 hours on the weekend. I literally did it in under 10 minutes. It recognizes where I spend my money, so it had already auto-categorized things. It had already merged the expense, the picture of the receipt with the expense line item from the credit card. All the information was already in the system, so by the time I got in, all I had to do is put in a couple of quick descriptions, do a quick review, and then go ahead and submit it, and I was done. So it has simplified my life personally significantly, and we're seeing that really across all the customers that we have on board.
And it just makes employees submit their expense reports much quicker.
Absolutely. We have automated reminder notifications as well. So it will tell the employee, send them an email, and you can set that up on the how often or when you want to have those reminders sent. So saying you have this many items in your expense report that are due for submission, so that you're reminding the employee to get that consistent submission as well.
And I'm not seeing any more questions, but I do have an open poll on the screen, everybody. If you can take a moment just to answer that question. I see 60% of you have voted. So, and Damon, are you guys right out of San Francisco?
We are. We're located just a couple of doors down from the Giants ball stadium. So just on 2nd Street. So if anybody is in the Bay Area, we'd love to have them stop by and visit.
Nice. I'm jealous. I love San Francisco. It's one of my favorite places.
Fantastic. Yeah, we enjoy it.
All right, we've got 75% voted. And did you have anything left that you wanted to close with, Damon, other than thank you, everybody, so much for joining us?
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for your time today. Thank you, Adrian, and Kathy, for putting this together. If there are any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I would love to have a deeper discussion about it. I know I just kind of touched the surface on a lot of these things, but would love to go deeper in any area that people would like more information and answer any questions.
And we do apologize for the audio today. The phone just wasn't working with GoToWebinar, so we had to do the mic and speakers. And Damon just didn't anticipate the background noise being this way. So thank you for hanging in there, audience. We really appreciate your time today. And we did record this, so we will also send a copy of the recording to all of the attendees and registrants. And with that said, we'll go ahead and close it out. Thanks, Damon, once again.
Thank you, Adrian. Have a great day.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.